Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Conversations with Good Brothers talk show. Very excited to be back with you all. Happy belated holidays. My name is Sean Francis Coleman, and this is
Darnell Ramsey, welcome everyone. Welcome. Always a pleasure to have you out with us on a Tuesday evening. Really appreciate your support.
exactly. I guess I first want to start off how we usually do, man. You know, we've been away for a minute. How was your holiday, and how have you been?
My holiday is good, man. Spent some time with the family. We don't really get a chance as a family to get sit down, eat and meal together, so that was good. But been I don't even know how to explain that or even express that. Just feeling a little bit different. A good friend of mine came in town from Atlanta. Actually, a great friend of mine. So we've been we got a chance to build. So that was a very intellectual conversation, but just shed light on some of the things I've been feeling over the last few weeks regarding direction, and putting a focus on what direction I want to go and moving forward. So just a lot of reflecting at this time, man. That's all, and it's all good when you get a chance to reflect. It's all good. However, you want to start tapping into your purpose, going into your latter part of your life. So you want to make sure you're living life with a purpose and not just existing, mere existing. So I know one of the things you had shared with me a little clip from Damon Dash a couple weeks ago, man. That's been, and I'm pretty sure everybody, a lot of people got aware of the little clip. But Damon Dash was just saying how many of us are not in control of our lives, how we depend on other people to feed us, you understand? So that was a very, very interesting point that's been really lingering in my mind for quite some time, ever since I heard that, you know what I mean? So me being of an entrepreneurial spirit, I really can relate to that, but, something we probably need to build on one of our future shows, and get a little bit more in depth about that.
I think it had relevance today, though, to the topic. You talk about, I've been researching something called phenomenology, and phenomenology is just like an experience of an individual, but in its relationship to the universal element. And you talk about, you use some very powerful words that I like. You use direction, you use reflection, you use purpose, and I think all of those apply to sports too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about the direction of a football player, whether it's a running back or XYZ or a basketball player. And I think that in terms of our topic, which is, why so much emphasis, and there's too much emphasis placed on sports in the black community, we could go different ways with that story. But in reference to, I think, connecting it to the Damon Dash thing, we don't always, sometimes we play in sports just for just to play sports. And I remember I got a chance to meet Michael Jordan, man, and one thing he said, if your sport can't teach you nothing about life, then why would you play? He said, if this is Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? He said, if your speaks at and then I heard Bruce Lee one time in an interview say, everything I learned about life, everything I learned about myself has been through martial arts and acting. So phenomenologically speaking, I think the sports relates to economics. I think sports relates to life, but so most of us play sports missing out on all this other information that it could give us.
I mean, it's coming back to the emphasis, and that's interesting because I haven't been very active in it, but even taking Tai Chi, and one of the things that I used to get from my Tai Chi lessons was how the teacher used to apply it. I used to think everything he was saying was, I used to apply it to my life. So that's really a tactic.
Exactly.
I wasn't really, Tai Chi was good, to learn the self-defense, but it was more or less some of the life lessons that I was learning while I was taking the class. So,
exactly.
To your point, I think that, and then a lot of things we'll delve into that a little bit deeper, but sports is a great way to teach you about life, teamwork. You know what I mean? Being on a winning team, a common goal to win a championship, just winning in a game of life, and learning how to accept defeat, sportsmanship.
Right.
So those are the things that when we talk about the topic of placing too much emphasis on sports, I guess we're thinking about the physicalities more than the mental aspect of sports.
Right.
And half the times the great ones will tell you that the majority of the game is
90%.
shoulder on up in your head. So you know we don't talk about in the sports because some of our athletes are not the smartest as far as intellectual as life. As far as life, you know, they're physical specimens. They're incredible physical specimens. But as far as you know, using sports to matriculate through this game called life, sometimes quite a few of them fall short. And particularly in our community, when we're talking about that, you know, growing up in inner city, you see a lot of times that we put so much emphasis on our kids playing sports. And one of the things I always tell our moms that, you know, we as soon as our babies are able to walk, man, we put the football or basketball in our hands.
Right.
Understand? So then I have some Asian friends, or I have some Indian friends, and you know they're learning how to play instruments, or they're learning how to speak a second language. So the amount of time we spend playing, you know, basketball or football, because majority of the time it's only two sports. We don't teach our kids too often how to play golf or how to play soccer, which are the more and baseball. Nowadays, African Americans don't play baseball to the extent they did 30, 40 years ago, but these are the ones that have more longevity than the football. The ones that we push our kids to playing football. But you know, the amount of hours we spend, you know, in the early stages when our kids are, when the children are developing, when the youth is developing, you know, if we would take some time to do some research and calculate the amount of hours, you know, if we would have put that much emphasis on education, reading, in particular reading, you know, where would our kids be? Well, we have some of these issues that we have academically in our community at the lower stages, because that's when we lose our kids well before they get to middle school. We lose our kids, you know, sometimes in the midst of elementary school experience because they don't have that basic foundation of reading. So you know, you know, I'm always a numbers guy, and you know, excuse the background noise, everyone. You know, we decided, you know, we're trying to do things on this show where I'm shooting different angles. So you hear an airplane. We're outside right now, so you hear an airplane flying over our head. It's drowning out our sound. So we hope you watch us on YouTube. So again, we want to do different shows, different places. But one of the things that I was calculating earlier, when you see a lot of these little youth league football programs, and sometimes they start as early as 5 or 6, you know, but you know, these young guys and young girls, because they're cheerleaders, they go to practice like 2 to 3 hours Monday through Thursday, and then they go to the football game on Saturday. So you do the calculations, that's almost 15 to 20 hours that we're designating to playing football. You understand? And you know, at the same time, where would our kids be if you took that same 20 hours a week and, you know, put them in front of a book or put them in some type of educational program?
Yeah, that's interesting too, man, because somebody put on Facebook today, you know, we need to start handing books down to the kids, and I put a post on there that said, well, first you have to convince the parents to get books to hand down to the kids. So on one accord, I do agree with you, but I think that also, you know, another question along with the show title is that if you're going to place so much emphasis on sports, is enough emphasis placed on the symbolism within the sport to real life? Because if you're going to be spending, like you said, that amount of time playing basketball, playing golf, I don't care if it's hockey. You know what I mean? Like, what I want to teach my son and daughter, like, you know, the intricacies of the sport and how it relates to real life. And that's what therapeutic boxing is. I always tell people that I learned so much about myself through boxing. Like, when I'm in that, everything that happens inside of a boxing ring happens in real life. I mean, you think about the adages and the common sayings that come from it. I'll be in your corner. Never throw the towel in. Always know who's in your corner. You throwing jabs at me, fam. Like, there's just so many things. Like, it's phenomenology. It's the symbolism of the sport in reference to real life. So it's just that I think we don't have a lot of mentors and parents and coaches who are spending time on that. If you think it's only about football, dude, then you done lost the real game of life.
But how many of us is it about football? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You got people, you know, and to your point, whatever you're doing in life, when you're talking to a youth, it should be applying math, English, you know, well, academic classes should be applied to life. Holidays, you should be talking about applying this to life. But for this particular show here, we're talking about emphasis, and that's the thing that some of our kids, which is amazing, you play all these sports, but you're not a good team player because you're out here killing one another.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the foundation of sports.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Being a part of a winning team. So how you a team and you're not, loving your teammate. And really, if somebody look like you, that's your teammate.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's your brethren in this game called life. So we talking about that's the basic foundation. To your point, that we're missing when we're teaching our kids and we're trying to make these things applicable to the life that they're going to live out here. So and then just imagine all that time that you have with a young person, all that time. So I commend all the men out here who's volunteering their time to coach these kids, man. It's very, it's commendable to the time. I'm just saying that there are some things that we can work on that adds to some things that we can implement during these practice times while you have such a large group of boys. And sometimes in every neighborhood you see hundreds of boys and girls. Why ain't there character classes?
Exactly.
Why a lot of these kids, and again at 5 to 15, which most of these they leave about 5. By the time they get to high school, they start playing sports. So the majority of these guys are involved, like from 4 to 12. That's when you're developing their person, developing their character. There should be some character building activities on a weekly basis. You understand? So those are the things. Life. These are the things that's going to let you navigate and matriculate through life. And we're missing a great opportunity to put a little bit more emphasis on how sports applies to life.
To your point, 2 points. 1 point in the sense that going back to boxing and making it apply to life, in the sense that it don't just have to be boxing, but when you think about getting punched in the face, that's a traumatic experience. You know what I'm saying? But a headshot really. You rather get hit in the head sometimes than get hit in the body, because when you get hit in the body, it's hard to recover from that because it moves your organs around. When you get hit in the face, that traumatic experience, it makes you alert. And when you've been around somebody who's traumatized, they always alert. Like unfortunately, somebody who's been raped, they're alert of everybody around them. They peep in the situation, and it's the same thing in the boxing ring. If you get dazed, it's like you alert because you don't want to have that happen again to me. Right. It's the same thing. It's just a different situation, but that's a learning experience right there. And then to your point about coaches, man, I think that we have to reevaluate in certain communities what it means to be a coach. Because I've been meeting with a lot of these young football players at different universities, and they've been saying, like, I have no father in my life. I have no uncles. I don't have any men to go back to. So they've been going to their coaches because they said, I need my coach to be more than a coach to me. You got to put some money in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? I need you to be there for me whenever I'm crying. And some of the coaches aren't necessarily the same, from the same area as them, and they're not able to relate to the experience. But they're telling me, like my coaches understand, like, I need you to be more than a coach to me, because I don't have anybody else. So if you're going to be, my message to people, not just in the Black community, whether it's Hispanic, whether just a poor socioeconomic community, if you a coach, and I'm sure you already know this, but it's not just about the sport. Like, you really have to look beyond your sport into the symbolism of who you're working with and how you are needed in other different ways.
And you just think that word coach is very, coaches mentoring, coaches development. That's what they do. Not only develop physically, your physical abilities. You're supposed to develop that person in whole. And I'm thinking, like, coaches back in the day, you look at the Bobby Knights, who people used to say he was a tyrant. You know what I mean? Because they seen one side, but you look at the type of people that he developed. Right. When what they're doing out in society. More recently, the gentleman who won the national championship on Monday, Coach K, and you look at, you don't hear about his players going to jail, raping, being broke. You understand? Because and even the guys when they speak of Coach K, how he developed them, as men. So to your point, coaches, that's a role, and that's why you got to have the assistant coaches, because you figure you're on a football team. You got 100-something young men, so you can't be a father figure to all of them. But your coaching staff.
Exactly.
But to your point, like we have to, and most of those major universities do have other things in place, or some things in place. But I'm coming back to in our community, we need to understand the importance of building character,
Yes.
or expecting our young men and young women to be characters while they playing these sports.
Right.
And sometimes we don't even talk about that.
Right.
You know, you're so busy talking about how much of a beast your 4-year-old or your 5-year-old's running the ball, and it's
Right.
like, how, you know, my thing is, how you a beast at 5 years old running a football?
Mm.
You understand? You know,
He said, "How'd you?"
how you a beast? I mean, I don't know any you know, any guys starting on a high school football team when you get noticed to
Yeah.
even go to college, but you 5 years old, you should be working on this character and this mental development.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, teaching you, you know, you have an opportunity to say, hey son, it's okay to lose.
Mhm.
In life you may lose this.
Right.
Going back to applying that to
Right.
life instead of letting this boy throw tantrums because he lost.
Right.
Or you hollering at him.
Right.
You know, sometimes these young guys, they care more about winning instead of developing as people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then these young brothers are
Mhm.
coming out in the community because they get older. But this is opportunity, like we, you know, your studies showed that, you know, a lot of us learn from 0 to 7.
Mhm.
You know, and a little bit, you know, some of our learning curves are a little bit extended, periods extended a little bit more. But you know, we have that opportunity to develop these young people, man, into and parents. You know, we you know, you're a coach too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So what do your kid, you know, dig the scenario. So your kid sees you at practice 4 days a week and at the game every weekend, but he never seen you come up to the school.
Mhm.
What effect does that have on him?
Mhm.
So you're telling him it's more important that he plays sports.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So he don't know, if he look at, you know, every, you know, for 4 months out of a year, he's seeing mom at every practice or dad at every practice, and then he's seeing him up in the stand.
Mhm.
But he has never seen you coming to school.
Right.
So how much emphasis is he gonna place on school? What is he gonna? Because we all want our parents' attention.
Right. Exactly.
So what we gonna strive for
Right.
if we never seen them up in school? So you subconsciously is telling some mom and dad
Right.
that sports is more important.
Right. And you always bring up that term character, and it's really started to resonate with me over the past couple of years. And unfortunately, man, yeah, I don't know if they've ever done a study on it, and they probably can't do it, but I would bet that below, 10% of people in life probably have, admirable character, man. Like I really believe that character kind of started to go awry somewhere between the 70s and 80s, man. So when you talk about character today, parents, and again, nobody wants to be held accountable. Parents, I think parents in their 40s and early 50s should be held accountable for some of the lack of character, and even their parents.
Right.
And even their parents should be held accountable for some of the character that's going awry. Because I see people a lot, you see people a lot, man, who are my age, your age, and even older than us, who behave like they have no character, man. So what
they don't have no character, or they don't have character, behave. You said like they don't. They actually don't have
they
character.
don't have no character.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like no character. And by character, I love the movie 7 Pounds, because one of the themes in that movie, Will Smith is testing everybody's character. You know what I'm saying? He's putting them through different situations to see how they respond. In the one scene, he said, "I'm doing this for you because you're a good man when nobody's looking. You're a good man when nobody's looking." And you have a lot of people today who ain't good people when nobody's looking, but they don't really care about. They the same not good person out in public.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You a bad person in your house, but you bring it out like you have no character because you showing that outside of your house.
Right.
So all that's trickling down to the kids, and it's only gonna get worse if we do something about that.
And I was it's crazy. And people don't take this the wrong way. Please don't take this the wrong way, because we all different. We're all allowed to be an individual. But I'm coming back to Coach K, and I was talking to a Duke fan last night, since we're talking about sports, putting emphasis on sports in our communities. But no knock on. I don't have anything against tattoos. Don't have nothing against tattoos. Teach you, don't do what you do. But Coach K had 5 black basketball players on his team, man, and nobody had a tattoo on their arm.
I never even noticed that.
Name a group, 5 black young boys on college sports team that don't have tattoos on a major program.
Right.
I mean, so that says about Coach K's character.
Exactly.
You've seen he's always mild-mannered, and his team reflects that, cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to be a Duke hater. You understand? But when I look at when you're talking about character,
Yeah, exactly.
character in a coach.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I think that your parents are coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times kids, more often than not, reflect the character of their coach.
That's where the term life coach comes from.
Mm.
Back in the 50s, I ain't forget, but there was two men who actually, they found that people could benefit in professional ways as the same ways that sports players could from coaches.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So that, like you said, that's a very, you're a coach. As a parent, you're a coach.
You're a coach, right. And you train your kids, God says train the child the way you want to, see fit in the world, and you training the kid.
Yeah.
So, some of the things that we see now in society is as a result of bad coaching.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And, coming back to what we're talking about is how sometimes it's okay for us to mimic some of these athletes who are not good character, even though because they have a large paycheck or a dollar in their pocket, we having our kids emulating them.
Right.
So we putting this emphasis on sports, like I need you to make this money. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna get you into every sports program out there.
Right.
In particular football in our communities, where we live at, it's a big football town, but we make sure that we put so much emphasis on our kids, developing their academic or developing their physical talents to get to this position to where they can make all this money, because we see on TV, you can have these big cars and these big houses if you use your academic, your physical abilities. But we don't talk about the character that some of these sports players have been exhibiting on TV. But we just completely dismiss that because it's all about financial wealth in our society. And unfortunately, too many of us think that's our only way out of our community.
Right, is to
take it out. I know we got a couple commercials scheduled for throughout the show. So what we want to do, we want to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back to discuss, the point we just left off on. Sometimes in our community, we think that's our ticket out, but we want to come back to that point when we come back from commercial break. Looking forward to continuing discussion after this commercial break. Thank you.
You've been waiting on it, and now it's here.
I want to touch back on that character thing. Okay. In terms of this, I never talked on my blog, because no matter whatever else is going on, my dad was always instilling in me, like, you don't do that. Let's too, man. I know it's one of these people that don't let them know that. You know what I'm saying? Like your spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go talk to them. Not that we ain't, but you like cool people, man. Like
That's something like, I'm cool, man. I'm gonna just add so much other stuff in my mind.
let's get into that though. Yeah. Let's get into that. Yeah. We could, because really we didn't talk about the TV, the cheapness. We need to get into that. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Conversations with Good Brothers talk show. I'm Sean Francis Coleman.
We got Darnell Ramsey. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again for spending Tuesday evening with us.
Yes. Brother Darnell, you was talking about before we got off to commercial. You was talking about how we need to get back to some of these coaching things and talking about character. And you was talking about how we endear these people who are up at the top of prominence in sports because of the money they get paid, and we try to have our kids be like that. And one of the things I love about myself, B, is that when I was growing up, I don't know what it was, but even though I was good at basketball, even though I was a good fighter, I never wanted to gain my wealth or my income off of sports. Like that's one thing I always pride myself on. Like I never wanted to be an athlete, even though I was very athletic. Like I wanted to gain my notoriety off of my academic intelligence. And you know, it's different. Whenever you are an athlete, you know, you're endeared. You know what I'm saying? So part of the emphasis is because we respect athletes. You the man. And then when you got maybe some more character, whenever you have some individuality, you can call it weirdo. You know what I'm saying? You can call it different, like corny. Corny. You know what I'm saying? But I just wrote a blog recently that talked about, you know, character in the sense that my dad would always tell me, look, whatever you doing out there, we don't do that in this house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know these your friends probably do that, but look, in the Coleman house, that ain't what we do. So, like, he instilled this character in me from probably farther back than I can remember. So that was in me. So even when I was veering off and doing other stuff, what was really in me was morals, values, strong beliefs and things like that. So I was kind of coached innately to be my own person.
But you know, you always make reference. I haven't had the opportunity to meet this great man, Mr. Coleman, but you always make reference, and you know that was your coach, though.
Right.
So that's a Coach K. So you're talking about a man of character, coaching you and training you.
Right. Exactly.
So when you look at some of our, again, I'm not knocking, the brothers out there doing a wonderful job, but you know, we got to start holding them a little bit accountable to exhibit their character, because when you see a brother hollering at a 5-year-old kid or cussing at a 5-year-old kid over a sports game, over football practice, you know, you gotta, you know, have some, you gotta really question that.
Right.
Understand? And as parents, you know, or community members, we gotta say, hey, brother, are you exhibiting the best type of character for these young guys? Are you placing more emphasis on this young man's physical abilities, or are you there to build him up and show him how to be a character? Because our community needs more men of character than it does football players. And you know, even being from Pittsburgh, or broadcasting from Pittsburgh, you know, years and years ago, Western Pennsylvania was a pretty good pocket for professional athletes, football players, and even certain schools. There was a couple schools in the Western Pennsylvania area that have put quite a few people in the pros. However, if you do the numbers, you're talking about, you know, there's almost 10,000 sports players, or more than that, coming through Western Pennsylvania a year. So for one every 2 years to make it, it's highly unlikely that your son or daughter is not going to make it professionally. Right. But you know, while you have that, we should have at least 5,000 per year young men and girls of character. Right. You understand? So that's one of the things that this reason why we're having this discussion is talking about why we putting so much emphasis on the sports side. To your point, where we should be incorporating some life development skills as well while we have them. Right. You know, and the great ones, you'll hear the Coach K's. They'll talk about, like, when these guys when they're interviewing their players, they'll always say how he relates things to life. Right. You understand? That's why they love Coach K or Bobby Knight, because everybody was having him on the back. John Thompson. Right. Let's not forget about him, or all the great ones, all the great coaches, all the great and the players. Yeah, and the great players. Right. Yeah. So they would tell you, like, my coach, man, he used to. It was more about life, just as much about life as it is with the sport. We got away from it, because now it's becoming to, getting to, like you said, getting to the league, instead of saying, like, well, I got these guys for 4 years, or where I got this young man for this year, I'm going to steal character.
Instead, you sacrifice your character for a win, and for dollar signs, man. Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy to me. And even to your point, because I'm very interested about the financial aspect of this. Because I read an article recently from the B&B Foundation, and it was saying that there's over 100,000 black millionaires in America, and only 4,000 to 5,000 of them are athletes and entertainers. That means that there's at least 90,000 black millionaires who have gained wealth outside of entertainment. So, and I know you were talking about the Damon Dash clip. Can you relate that? Can you relate that a little bit to what we're talking about tonight?
And I'm gonna even go back. Sometimes statistics. I'm gonna throw a statistic here, because I find that I read that article today. I got that it was in the Pittsburgh Courier, where I don't know if I would like to see the numbers on.
I would too.
Yeah, on 100,000. Because the reason why I say that, they say the average black net worth of everybody in America, every black person in America, is under $1,000. Your net worth. So if you got 100,000 black millionaires, because I think it's 35 million people in 35 million, 40 million blacks in America.
Mhm.
For our average net worth to be less than $1,000, we bringing a hell of the million, because we got a couple of
100,000 million.
yeah, and you know, people worth 100 million. It ain't just million, you know, 100 million. So how do you, you know, there's a lot of us pulling us down, but you know, back to that point that Damon Dash point was saying that one of the things that we as men, we supposed to be able to be, you know, be able to create wealth for our families and be able to give our sons and daughters a job or leave them something when you leave out. You know what I mean? He was saying that, you know, we shouldn't be satisfied with working for people our whole lives, where we should be the boss. We should get to the point where we're boss. If you're a boss, and when he say boss, is not to be egotistical, but be able to say, if your son or daughter say, hey dad, mom, I need a job.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And you say, hey son, well come out to my business, and you know you can start working with me tomorrow.
Right.
You know, and he was saying that, you know, you can't go to, even though you may making a lot of money, NFL, whatever you in, but if you got to go ask your boss
Right.
for a job, you know, what type of, where are you really? So, you know, your boss can have a bad day and come in and fire you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was just thinking about, I have a good friend of mine, who has his own business, and he's doing well, you know, and I was thinking, you know, just reflecting over the last few weeks, like, wow, I know a lot of people, you understand, and, you know, my friend, you know, here in Pittsburgh, he actually has a business, he's been running for, over 15 years, and he can give his, you know, as a matter of fact, his son and his daughters do come down and work for him.
Mm.
And I'm like, you know, all the people I know, and he's very successful and he's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But a lot of us, we don't even have that mindset of, like, you know,
Right.
getting our own. Is, you know, we tell our people to you know, go play sports
Right.
and go work, you know, go to the NFL and make this money and work for a dude. But a lot of us are not even, you know, too many of us are not taking advantage of all this money
Right.
that we're making and setting our families up for one, or building businesses.
Right.
You know, the one brother, I'll send you a clip. You
Broke
said
the light?
Yeah, you knew about him, which is powerful. Where, you know, he was talking about, we're not in a position, we don't own nothing. We don't even talk about all this wealth, all this economic wealth we have. We don't do nothing with it. We don't have no, we don't have too many banks, you know what I mean, that we can borrow from. We don't pretty much own like a chain of hotels or chain, like, what do we do from having all this economic wealth? And me being, you know, being a fraternity member, you know, my great fraternity been around 100 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do we own?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Like, you know, we are educated men. What do we own?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And that's one of the things that's, you know, kind of scary, because we have, you know, we have all these yearly and quarterly conventions, but we're going to buy somebody or rent somebody else's rooms out. You know what I mean? We go, you know, we have conventions in these big stores. As a matter of fact, there's in Pittsburgh this weekend, there's a sorority convention here. You understand? So you got 5,000 people coming into Pittsburgh, and they're renting from another hotel chain. You know what I mean? You know, there are 8, 9 fraternities and sororities that do this every year. They go quarterly meetings, annual meetings every year, and all this money. We're, you know, when do we start developing, getting our own? So when you talk about all these millionaires, man, why don't we have nothing? I mean, just a chain of hotels.
You know, I don't have the answer to that, but I do have a response in the sense that this might rub some people the wrong way, in the sense that I'm kind of happy that we don't have that right now, because again, coming back to that character piece, not to say that other nationalities have more character than us, but you and I growing up, all we know is being black, right? You know what I'm saying? I know I've been to different nationalities in the cultures parties, but with the lack of character that we have in our community, do we really think that we're going to band together and create a successful chain of hotels? And not to say that we don't have great people in our community, because we do, but you know, I'm not somebody who's just going to look at my fellow black man and say I respect you because you black. That's not. And again, I love you because you're a person, and I you know, of course I have increased empathy for you because we share the same skin color. But what's the point of doing that whenever you a person with no character? Like, I'm just supposed to love you because you ain't got no character. And I guess getting back to my point, man, is to say that what is the whole game say? If nobody in the community collectively has any character, I think God's plan is bigger than ours, man. And part of this might be part of the separation that God continues to allow us to have, because there's no there's no character. So even if we did have some type of solidarity, I think that we'd be a detriment to our own selves.
But you know, but on the flip side, we're talking about you and I who are mental characters, so we can't just blanket that. Now I disagree with you. As you do respectfully say with me on Brother Sean, like, what if you and I? Well, I think brothers like you think this. How many brothers like you and I are?
Right.
That we can work together. That's why we're doing this show consistently. So sometimes we get this stereotype because there's so much lack of character. You know, because the brothers with character get drowned out by so much lack of character. However, there are, I think, thousands, hundreds of thousands of brothers like you and I. It's just we gotta figure out a collective way of getting our voice heard.
We gotta find it.
From the chat room, it says we have a question. It says the first question that comes out of people's mouths when talking to black boys is, do you play any sports? Wow. That's real talk.
It is.
When you see a brother 6'2", you know what I mean, one of the young guys who film our show because he's tall, first thing we say, great question, man, I wish I'd have known where you were from. Give you a shout out, good question, but first time we see a black boy, we don't know, I kill people because that's what they expect. We say, you know, how's what sports you play? I always ask young boys, what's your grades? They ain't ready for that because they ready to say, I play basketball, I start. You understand? But listen, that's a great point that this lady or sister, brother type into our chat room. How often do you hear that, Sean, when we meeting our young brothers, or you see when you eavesdropping on a conversation, somebody saying, "Oh, you tall, man. You thick, man. What sport you play?"
I do it.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's how real it is.
Yeah.
I do it. Now I get into the academics afterwards.
Right.
But I think unconsciously I know that that's a way to get into conversation.
No good.
You know what I mean?
Good question, but not too often. That's not an icebreaker.
Right.
That's a conversation.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean? That's a conversation. Yeah. That's your icebreaker.
That's my.
Yeah. So no, let's keep it real. That's your icebreaker. When you gonna jump and start talking a little bit more about coming through the back door, but the majority of the time, like, oh, bro, who you play for?
Right.
What's your number? What's your stats?
Right.
You know, it goes a little bit further. So I had a conversation on Easter. I went over to great opportunity. I had dinner with one of my great friends, and his son was home from school. So he had his son had brought two of his friends home. So these young brothers, 20 years old, they got ties on. I'm like, wow. So my man wanted me to come with me. So we actually started talking about this conversation about why was emphasis placed on because two of the brothers from Maryland, the one gentleman's from here from Pittsburgh. But he was saying that, I was asking, when did y'all buy into academics? How did y'all buy into academics? You know what I mean? Because they were saying when they were younger, they wanted to be a sports player. You know what I mean? But they kept coming back to the same thing, Mr. Coleman, they kept on coming back to their households telling them, hey, you're going to play some sports, but we're going to emphasize, not in this house, we're going to emphasize some academics up in this house.
Right.
So, when you say, your dad, Mr. Coleman, like, hey, not up in this house,
right.
Oh, you're going to play some sports, bro, because
Right.
you're going to stay in shape, because, sports is a way of keeping you in shape, teaching you, because we were talking about the intangible things that sports teach you, the teamwork, the conditioning, and some of the other things that you learn from sports. But their households were putting a lot of emphasis on education. You know what I mean? And also you hear, I think, I keep coming back to Coach J. Don't think that I'm Coach K. I'm not a Duke fanatic. I just respect Coach K. But he always says student athletes. You're a student athlete, not athlete student. You're a student athlete.
Right.
So when we're talking to these young brothers, in football, why can't we call them a scholar?
Right.
Are we calling you next Barry Sanders? No, you're a scholar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same thing. You know
Right.
what I mean? Hey, scholar, nice move, scholar. So you can talk about sports,
Right.
but you also putting in his head, you a beast. What is a beast? When you calling a young boy a beast, imagine you 5 years old, you a beast on the football field. Like, he might think he a young rhino. You know what I mean? So he might one day, when he go older, he might try to ram his head through a door and rob a bank. He been hearing he a beast. I'm a beast.
I can do it.
I can do it.
I can do it.
Remember I used to run up the middle? My coach told me I can run anybody and anything over. So this dude could run through a glass door to rob a bank. But it's hyperbole. We exaggerate and have some fun with it, but it's true. Like, we're calling kids beasts.
Right.
You a beast, dude,
Right.
man.
Right.
Instead of you a scholar. We talking, so these guys ain't nobody running like when I look up in the stands, I score a touchdown, I see 200 people up there. When I get my report card, how many people tell me good job?
Oh man, yo, at Peabody, you know, and again, I probably shouldn't have said the name, but well, you know, at the high school that I played basketball for, man, the freshmen only had to keep, I think I said this before, a 1.0, man, a 1.0, man, and the coach would have to come talk to us, like, hey, it's grades time, let me know if we have to talk to some teachers, and I'm like, Coach, they only got to keep a 1.0, Coach. He said, nah.
I'm sorry, I've been out of school a couple years, bro. I think 1 is a D. Yeah, I mean,
One is that might not even be a D, man.
to make
Matter of fact, it might be a D.
Oh,
A 1 point. And kids couldn't keep it, man.
man. We gotta go. We gotta pay our bills and go to commercial break. We gotta come back to that because I'm glad you brought that up. But we're gonna talk about that. That's sad. Our school's not only house, but the school's part of our community.
Right.
So we telling our kids it's okay to have a 1.0 in order to make play sports. But we're gonna pay our bills. We're gonna go to commercial break, and we'll be back with the last segment of conversations with good brothers. See you after the commercial break.
That's real, man.
I forgot. That's a great point, bro. Because I think they dropped it down to 1.5.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and Penn Hills was the first one to do that, 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 to play
No.
sports. Yeah, man. Yeah, 1.5 to play sports.
I don't believe that.
Because it used to be a 2.0, but
I don't
they
believe
were saying
that,
that they believe that our kids wouldn't come to school if they didn't have nothing, if they wouldn't play sports. So that was their way of saying that, you can, at least we're getting them in school. We don't make it like, what?
But he wasn't. Well, then you know what? Don't have them come in, and they put their parents and they put them in jail, and see that inspire your ass to do good. Man. Come on, man.
1.5, like where you going with 1.5?
Are you serious? I gotta research that one. A 1.5, man. Yo, I'm sick. That actually, I feel like you said somebody's name on it, like, man. A 1.5, dude.
1.5.
And I'll ask my teammates, like, bro, like, you really can't be the 1.5? I don't really come to school, man. You know what I'm saying? And,
Why you get to play sports? Why are you rewarded for that?
yeah. That's crazy. And I'm surprised Tim Hills was the first one to do it. Welcome back to the Conversation with Good Brothers talk show. This is Sean Francis Coleman.
You got Darnell Ramsey. Thank you. Great
sir.
conversation, but before we went to break, Brother Sean was talking about the school that freshmen needed a 1.0.
1.0.
And over the break, I was telling Sean that I think Pittsburgh Public Schools, you need a 1.5 will get you
That's crazy,
on the
man.
field, man.
That's crazy.
A 1.5, and I always thought you needed a 2.0 just to graduate.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe things change, and I need to get a little bit more involved in the academic side of our school system. But yeah, I know there was a 1.5 to play sports, and that was because they were saying that that's if you lower the standards, the guys at least come to school to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
So while they're in the classroom or while they come to play sports, we might be able to teach them something.
I can't. My thing is, and I might be an extremist in a way, but if that's the case, man, send them home. Don't have them come, and put them in jail. Put their parents in jail. Maybe that'll inspire you to want to really try harder, man. Because that's a school just wanting to make money, man. Because now I'm wondering if the school standards match the home standards. Because if the school standards is to be 1.5, if my son or daughter brought up a 1.5, it don't matter what the school standards is. You're not playing. Period. You know what I'm saying?
And not even that, because there should be a pattern established well before they get to high school.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Yeah, and I know there's some. I know one of the guys met some guys in one of the community football teams. They were saying they require their young men to bring their report cards, or they won't play, or they're very active in the school. And I commended this brother. And I was telling him he needed to make sure that when he goes to these annual coach meetings, they implement that system